People began to try and look how feeble-mindedness moved through families. And at Cold Spring Harbor, they set up the eugenics record station just to do masses of pedigrees. They were going to prevent the unfit from taking over the world. Here's an apparent 5-generation family where feeble-mindedness just runs through the thing, and you can see here F, 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 and I wonder how many of these kids went to school, or under what conditions, and how they were tested, and who said this. But this was the sort of thing which affected social policy. The legislatures, who really didn't understand the science or the strength of it, passed laws to sterilize the unfit.
Incredibly, as a result of Davenport's eugenics, 40,000 women were forcibly sterilized in the United States. Watson thinks he has an insight into how that could have happened.
Most people now don't remember when there was a massive mental hospitals throughout the country, throughout, in fact, the civilized world. There was no treatment for mental illness. The people went into them, they never left. And this was, eugenics was, I think, the response to these large hospitals.
This makes Watson more forgiving of the early eugenics movement than most.
It sounded like a good idea, and it wasn't. I don't regard Davenport as an evil man. By the end of his life, you can say he did dreadful science, and they were sort of telling the people there was science behind it, and there wasn't science. There was just some unfit people, and how do you handle it?
In Watson's mind, this chapter of eugenics shows the harm that can be done when governments try to control the gene pool. As it turned out, enough people in America were against the policy, and Davenport's work was stopped.
By the time the 1930s arrived, many people effectively thought Davenport had lost his bonkers. Eugenics was just silly prejudice. Unfortunately, as it lost favor in the United States, Hitler came to power in Germany and liked very much the ideas of the unfit, and he wanted to get them out of German life.
Watson has his own kind of eugenics, based on his DNA science. But he feels that people are prejudiced against it because of one other way eugenics was put into practice in the past.
The Germans and the Nazi government was their aim to produce the pure Aryan race. Broke the cardinal rule of civilization. Thou shalt not kill. So people they thought genetically inferior, they killed. The name of genetics, they killed. And so in the public eye we will always be identified with the Holocaust. Now here's the Reichstag.
Jim Watson is drawn to Germany. He's come here many times. Of all the countries on Earth, Germany is the most hostile to genetic science, probably as a reaction to its Nazi past. It's almost as though Jim is in a personal battle with Germany. Many Germans feel that one of the lessons of the Nazis is not to try to use genetics to improve the human race. But Watson feels they need to come to terms with their past and then move on to embrace the new genetics. He says the idea that people are the result of their genetic code is a truth that cannot be ignored.
When I walk down the street and think about my fellow human beings, I see all of them as products of that script. But the products of several billion years of evolution, where the script has become more and more refined, so it finally says human being. The imperfection is not any grand design. It's just a mistake.
The scientific evidence on this is compelling. Already it's been shown that a single letter mistake in the genetic code causes diseases such as cystic fibrosis and thalassemia. And it looks like multiple mistakes cause complicated mental illnesses like schizophrenia and manic depression. Throughout history, such people have been discriminated against for something that Watson sees as just the result of a bad roll of the genetic dice.
There's no design. These humans have no chance of really competing with most other humans. So what do you do with the unfit?
This is a mental hospital 60 miles outside Berlin. The place where the eugenics from Cold Spring Harbor was taken a stage further.
It was clearly to inspect, that you could inspect what's going on.
Watson is being shown around by his friend Benno Müller-Hill, who has studied the history of German genetics.
And that's right here, and you see it looks first, if you are innocent, you believe that this is in fact hot water which may come out of this, but no, carbon monoxide is coming out of here.
14,000 mentally ill people and disabled children were killed here in the name of eugenics.
The dead bodies were then taken out of here, and one could get them out of here into a room where there is at the moment just one dissection table, dragging them here on this floor.
Do you think they felt they were murdering people?
They couldn't see anything wrong with killing those incurable insane, and they had learned this in the medical courses at the universities, and so they couldn't see anything wrong. And probably
This basement has been preserved as a museum to remind people of the Nazi genetics.
I was active as somebody who was burning the corpses. The oven would be always new, filled.
Above them, the mental hospital carries on as normal. And for Watson, the problem of the unfit remains. And so does the argument of what should be done about it.
Last year I was attacked by the president of Germany for sort of Hitler-like thoughts.
Yeah, the chief of the German Medical Association has asked the Nobel Prize winners of throwing you out of this community, of their community, because you are so Hitler-like. Yeah.
Well, because I believe that, a woman should have the right to terminate a pregnancy if the child is going to be genetically unhealthy. And, that's what I said, in very unambiguous terms, that a woman should have the right. I didn't say a woman should be forced to or not forced to. I just said a woman should have the right to try and have a healthy child. And if she has a genetic test says that that child is not going to be healthy. And I think they got particularly upset over Down syndrome, which is so accepted by at least the vast majority of people in the United States.
You said that the child should be successful, and I think that they just flipped out over that.
Well, I think everyone has aspirations for their children. It's not nice when you have a child for which you can't have aspirations. That's what I said.
Yeah.
The women cry when they can't have aspirations for their children. It's awful. We have to not defy common sense. Just because someone can say, well, Hitler also had this idea.